mothers always tell me it's very difficult with grandparents.
Yeah.
I'm not able to tell my mother-in-law. I'm not able to tell my, in-laws.
Is TV better than a handheld gadget? Is the first question that I want to ask.
First, understanding that, okay, am I going to be a mother?
3 + 3 = 6 வந்து ஒரு குழந்தை திரும்ப திரும்ப போட்டு பழக வேண்டாம். அந்த ஆன்சர் வந்து ஈஸியா அவைலபிளா இருக்கு. So what after that? Hello and welcome to yet another episode of Mindful Moms Tribe podcast. Today I have another wonderful guest with me who's also a doctor, Dr. Menaka Manikaraj. About her, she's a practicing pediatric dentist for over 20 years. Not just that, she's also into behavioral psychology. She is trained in child and adolescent behavioral and health. She works with a lot of schools through performing arts and teaching. She's also a beloved Bharatiyar follower and her interests for Tamil goes a long way. And I think this is just a brief introduction or surface of who she is. We'll hear more from her directly. Thank you, Dr. Menaka. உங்களோட introduction எனக்கு சொல்றதுக்கே வந்து it took a long time. I'm sure we will know more about you.
You can just like probably briefly say jack of all trades. But I would not say master of none, maybe master of some. So thanks, Aishwarya, for having me and on the Mindful Moms episode. And I'm always excited to talk about children and, of course, parenting. So when you called me, I was also very happy to be here and very happy to meet someone with, similar interests and like-minded people. So, yeah.
Yeah, so that's the core of this community, to bring mindful and like-minded people together and moving them from where they are today to more mindfulness in everything that we do. Because compared to before, parenting has become a much complex topic for the new age moms. Whether we are complicating it or the situation and environment is turning it so is a question. But another goal for this community is to enable them with more information so that they can implement it in their day-to-day life towards better parenting and the child's better health. That's about it.
Yeah.
So we'll get started. So today our topic is going to be limited or focused on screen time for children during their growing years, and also screen time for adults who are going to play or who are playing a huge role in their childhood years. So என்னோட questions என்ன எப்படி இருக்க போகுதுன்னா, here's a mom and this is how she's feeling, அவங்களுக்கு எப்படி ஹெல்ப் பண்ணலாம் அப்படிங்கிறது தான். ஸோ I'll start with mom of a newborn. அந்த டைம்லேயே screen introduce ஆகுது. So there is a nuclear family with a newborn at home. The parents and in-laws are living in a different city or a country. அப்போ எப்படி screen introduce ஆகுதுன்னா, வீடியோ காலில் குழந்தையோட ஃபேஸை வந்து டு ஷோ இட் டு தேர் பேரண்ட்ஸ் ஆர் இன்லாஸ், அது ஒரு நாளைக்கு 30 minutesலேருந்து இட் கேன் கோ ஈவன் ஃபார் hours. ஸோ தட் இஸ் அ வெரி டெண்டர் ஏஜ் தட் த சைல்ட் ஸ்டார்ட்ஸ் கெட்டிங் இன்ட்ரடியூஸ் டு கேஜெட்ஸ் ஆல்ரெடி. ஸோ ஹவு டு யூ see that and how can a parent address such a situation with or without gadgets?
Many of the parents, whenever I ask them as a part of my routine or dental consultation, I keep giving them the disclaimer that, sorry, now I'm going to talk about something that may not sound like dentistry, but screen time. And very often, even the most conscious parents, what they say is, during infancy, we almost avoid it. But for these video calls with grandparents, right? So that's something that keeps coming up for me also when I take history. So, there is no clear-cut, don't do this, don't do that, right? But what we could do is, like you're saying, mindful. So how mindful can we be about this? Because obviously we cannot deny the grandparents the pleasure of seeing their grandchild grow. So what are the other things that we could do? Probably when the child is really young and the baby does not know that this is a screen or that somebody is watching, if we could keep it out of the eyesight of the child and let the grandparents observe, right, for some time, I think that's harmless. Secondly, of course, we could make videos without the child's knowledge when the child is playing or doing something and share it with them. Thirdly, we could restrict it to important milestones or when the child is saying something, right? And another thing is, video call, as much as we like to think that the child is engaging with somebody, they actually don't, right? We are able to see them, but for them, it actually doesn't mean, it's just, it really doesn't make much sense for them. So at a point when it starts making sense to them, along with a parent, if the child is engaging, it is still a little different from the child being put on the video call by themselves. Because a lot of research points to the fact that this is also in psychology called joint attention, where like me and my child together point to something and play, and together we do something. That's a very important part of development. So when we do it together, right, and the mother is also an active part of the conversation, and then we are doing it, and we restrict the time. These are some of the ways that I could think of it, because there is no limit to saying how much, right? Because for every family and for every individual, it's different. One grandparent could never have enough of it. And they would be like, they want to see more and more and more, right? Yeah. And so it's a very relative thing from one person to the other. So how much of it is because we want it and how much of it is because it's good for the child? I think it's a very clear boundary, right? As long as we can think about the child and not just us, I think we'll be able to make that distinction and say, okay, at what point is it going to, because at some point this child is going to understand that, oh, I am, because then it becomes performance. True. We see children performing now today on social media, right? We see toddlers performing.
Yes.
Not as a performance, but everyday things, because they know there is a camera pointed at them.
Right.
Right? So do we want our child to actually play, or do we want it's like the Truman Show. I don't know if you watched that movie, the Truman Show, where this guy is like, Jim Carrey, his entire life is on video. Many children's lives are like that, because the mothers are using their children literally as bait, right, for getting the attention. These children's lives without their own knowledge is being recorded all through. And there are children who actually come, when they've become adults, young adults, have come back and said, hey, excuse me, I don't want this. Who gave you the permission to do this? Why did you put me out there for everybody to see? Right? So it's invasion of privacy, whether it's a baby or a toddler, it is invasion of privacy. So how mindful are we going to be? What is the purpose of this? How much is enough? Is the child getting affected? At what point is the child getting affected? How is it indirectly affected? These kind of questions, when we ask ourselves, I think will give us more clarity than, like having fights with, because it becomes very difficult for the mothers, because mothers always tell me it's very difficult with grandparents.
Yeah.
I'm not able to tell my mother-in-law. I'm not able to tell my, in-laws, they don't listen to me. So, yeah.
So another question that came to my mind is parents documenting, what their children are doing, whether it is to be shared or whether it is for their own memories. I want to create digital memories of my child, so I am recording every activity is also something that's happening. If it happens without the child knowing, somewhere from the corner or something, is that okay?
Yeah, I think that's perfectly okay. But again, no. So the thing is, how much is enough? See, because now it's becoming like almost every minute, right? Everything. We have surveillance cameras everywhere. I feel bad for the children. The parents are very happy. The school is very happy, following their every move. What about the child? What about their rights? Like, would you have liked it when you were a teenager that, in your school bus there was a camera, in your classroom there was a camera, inside your house there's a camera, and you talk to the adolescents, you will know exactly what they feel about this. They feel nobody trusts us. Right? So, as much as we are obsessed with recording everything, the obsession has gone higher and higher and higher to a level. And so for us to draw a line and say, okay, very consciously, mindfully making a decision, okay, this is how much I'm going to allow, and it's okay if I don't record this. Let me be in the moment and enjoy it, right? I don't have to record everything, because while I'm recording it, I've missed that moment.
The reality, yes.
Right?
Yes.
I mean, because I'm always looking through the lens, and it's so different when you're actually experiencing it in full versus, doing it through the lens because you're not really there.
Yeah.
Right? Even I would say when you're going and watching an annual day of your child or you're watching your child on stage performing something, most parents are watching it through their
Through the
phones.
screen.
And it's so sad because that really takes away something from the real thing. So again, right, like you can't really say don't do this, don't do that, but are we asking ourselves the right questions before we do that? Are we saying, is this really necessary? How much is enough for me now? It's like, how much is enough is a question that I
Yeah.
think we need to really ask ourselves. And how much of this is actually doing good for my child in reality?
Right.
How much of it is actually translating to good for my child? Or what else could I be doing with this time that could actually be advantageous for my child?
Yes.
Could I actually be telling my child a story? Could I actually be holding my child? Could I be putting him to sleep? Could I be singing to him? Could I be taking him for a walk? These are all other things that would make so much more difference to him rather than me recording something that he did, right?
Right.
So how much time is this obsession with recording taking away from actual real life experiences for my child and me? I think that will answer our question.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Another question from a parent.
Yeah.
Again, a nuclear family. Let's assume the mother is a stay-at-home parent, and the child is like a toddler, hasn't gone to school as yet or a daycare as yet. So the mother and the child are alone at home. It's only 2 hours of work that she has. She may have to cook or clean or finish some chores and come back. So konja toys kudukranga. The child is sitting and playing. But in another 10 minutes or 15 minutes, the child starts moving about, maybe trying to pull a wire or something. So safety of the child becomes a question. So அந்த இன்டர்வல்காக அட்லீஸ்ட் ஒரு டிவி முன்னாடி இருந்து ஒரு கொஞ்ச நேரம் டைம் பாஸ் ஆச்சுன்னா the mother at peace can wind up her work very quickly and come back. So this is a common scenario or use case for which gadget gets introduced in a toddlerhood. So how can we help there?
This question is deeper than it seems, okay? Because while it has become an everyday situation, and it seems like it's practical. It says what is happening. You're asking me this. The answer is at various levels, actually, I would say, because from our understanding of parenthood itself is where the shift has, come. Because I think when you become a mother or a parent or the primary caretaker of a child, when you make that decision, you have to make that decision with the consciousness that your life is about to change completely. And if you haven't given it that thought, you're doing your child a huge disservice because that child has one mother, right? You could have 100 things that you want to do, but you have the responsibility of having brought this life into this world, and therefore it is your responsibility, right? And so, first understanding that, okay, am I going to be a mother? Okay, but that's going to change my life. That's going to mean that I'm going to have to be more patient. That's going to mean that I'm going to have to let go of a few things that I used to like to do, like maybe stay up late or get up late. It's going to change. It's going to mean that I'm not going to be able to do a lot of things that I used to do earlier. It's going to mean that I'm going to learn to do a lot of things that I was never used to doing. And these are all things that I think is so important, where again, I don't want to sound like preachy, right? I don't want to sound, because I myself was, as a youngster, a very ADHD kind of a person, very impulsive, very naughty, very active, energetic. And I became a mom, and the people who knew me as a child or a teenager, like we're not able to imagine you as a mother. But I just changed. Because for me at that point, this is the most important thing in my life. And actually as a teenager itself, I had set my mind on it that, okay, this point, this is how my life is going to be. And to have that understanding is very important, because when we jump into it, not knowing what we're jumping into is where the problem comes. Because, I was called for one of these Mother's Day or something, and I was asked to talk to a group of young moms who were either pregnant or had toddlers, or I had a newborn and a toddler, something like that. And they were all aspiring entrepreneurs.
Okay.
And I was asked to talk to them and give them my opinion about, and I think I told the exact opposite of what the organizer expected as well as what all the moms expected, because I said sorry. You cannot have a life for the first few years
Yeah.
if you want to do service, if you want to do the right thing with your child.
Yeah.
Because you do the right thing in the first few years, you're sorted for the rest. But in the first few years, if you're not physically available, that's a compromise you're going to be making for the rest of your life. So if you're going to say, my friends are traveling, my friends are partying, my friends are, doing this, I want to travel, I want to do this, you can either have a baby or you can do that. You can't do both. And if you do both, one of it is going to take a hitting. And which one are you okay with compromising is the question. So there's no way you can have all of it, right? That's something that there's 24 hours in a day. And taking care of a toddler means being on hyper alert all the time. And that does you so much service, because you improve as a human being. You become a better person. And I think you should allow yourself to do that, right? So I'm not, again, no, I don't want to, at the risk of sounding preachy, but I really think it is so important for us as mothers also to go through this during those times, that we have to actually engage the child, because that engaging with the child is what is going to teach that child a lot of developmental things. For example, like when we put, whenever parents come to me and they say, this is not how you behave with an elder, this is not how you should talk, avanga face paathu pesu, ipdi pesu, appadi pesu, or ipdi ukkara, it is not the child's fault.
Yeah.
The child basically did not get enough experience having that face-to-face contact with an adult at home who was present in those moments to say, sorry, this doesn't work, this works, you can't talk to me like that, because they read the expressions, and that's so important. So these are the everyday small interactions that is going to make the personality of this child, that is going to be the emotional maturity of this child. It's going to tell the child how to be socially. How do I, okay, this person made a face like this, that means they didn't like what I said, so maybe I shouldn't say this next time, or maybe I should alter it. Or they smiled when I said this, or which means maybe people appreciate this, so I can do this more. So how is the child going to, what is the child going to learn from a situation where they've just been distracted? Nothing. Only thing they learn is, if I want TV, I need to misbehave.
Yeah.
I need to do something that will upset mom or scare her, that then I will be given the TV. That is all that we have taught them in that situation.
Yeah.
Rather than actually trying to see if we can do something. Like, I mean, I know that what I've told you is not very practical tip, but a practical tip would be like, okay, how did our, those days the grandmothers used to tie them actually around the thing and tie them to a stone so that they have a radius where they could move around, which would be safe enough.
Yes.
So firstly, ensuring that the house is safe is our duty. Secondly, again, it's two sides, right? Because the moms are becoming more and more and more paranoid about what is dangerous. So firstly, our perception of what is dangerous and what is not dangerous has also changed, right? So not only are we overprotecting them, and then so everything is actually working against the exploration of the child, the normal development of the child, because we've really restricted that environment so much.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? So it also gives us an option, okay, fine. If there's no screen, what else would I do? Because I mean, like, I didn't give a screen. I brought both my kids up without screen. So what did I do? I would give them some peeling work to do while I'm doing. I mean, this is all things that now on the internet, it's all available, using them for the chores, making them do this, making them do that. And still, yeah, some accidents can happen.
Yes.
Yeah.
We should be tolerant.
And
to that.
yeah, but to avoid that one accident that might happen or one small thing that might go wrong, if you're going to take away that entire toddlerhood of that child, where the child is supposed to learn from those mistakes. Like my mom always tells me, my dad is a pediatrician, 51 years of practice, he's with third generation. When my daughter was a baby, if anybody, when she's starting to walk or crawl, if anybody covers the edges, he would not allow us to. He would say, let her hit. Don't do that. Don't protect them. Let her stand, let her walk, let her fall, let her, right? But how many moms are ready to do that? Now we're seeing the milestones are shifting. The milestones are slower actually, not earlier. It's actually later, the physical milestones. Because one thing is, we have become more paranoid as parents. Second thing is, our own ability for patience or our attention span itself has reduced. So all these things are working against the normal development of our children. So basic thing is to question ourselves, are we doing this, am I doing this for my convenience, or am I doing it because it's good for my child? That question will just give you the right answer.
Yeah, I think
And
this will
sometimes
go.
when எதுவுமே முடியல அப்படின்னா okay, right? Like I have to, like I urgently have to go to the toilet, or there's been an emergency, I need to go attend to it, and I need my child to sit. Yeah, you can even lock them up in a room. At that point, you have these playpens into which you can put them where they can't get out of. You can ask your neighbors for help,
Yes. Yes.
right? Which we've stopped doing.
Yes. Yes.
Right? These are all, we don't even know who our neighbors are anymore. And we are always so suspicious about everything, because I see moms telling, in our house, we don't do this. In their house, their rule is different. In our house, we don't. So we don't send them there.
Yeah. Yeah. I have come across several conversations like this.
Yeah,
That in
so-
our house, the rules are different.
Yeah, which is also, okay, we should have some non-negotiables. Of course, we want more boundaries, because today's day and age, it's important, because we're talking about screen time. So some homes don't have. Irukku. And I again know, where do we draw that line? எதுக்கெல்லாம் rules போடுறோம்? So I keep telling the parents, if everything is non-negotiable in your house, your child is going to break every bloody rule. If you have a few non-negotiables and a lot of negotiables, then your child is going to really respect those non-negotiables, because they can negotiate so many other things. So what are those non-negotiables? Are you choosing them wisely? Because it all depends. If you're going to say, இப்படிதான் எந்திரிக்கணும், இப்படிதான் படுக்கணும், இப்படிதான் தூங்கணும், இப்படிதான் இது பண்ணணும், if everything is non-negotiable, the child just gets overwhelmed and starts rebelling against everything. The child knows, yeah, Amma gives me liberty with all these things. She only expects these two things to be like this.
Yeah.
So I'll respect that.
Let me respect that.
Yeah. Sorry, I went off topic, but I couldn't help it.
Okay, coming back, we are talking about toddlers and their screen time. That's also another time when gadgets get introduced for other uses. That is, a mom wants to feed a child. Rather than running around the house for 1/2 bowl of rice and spending or wasting 2 hours, the food will quietly go inside. Very nutritious food will go inside in 15 minutes with TV on. Is that recommended or not?
Yeah, so absolutely not. I come from two angles for this. Okay, one is, I remember earlier when we were talking about how anyway all these years we distracted them only and fed them, and so that brings us back to, what is that distraction that we used? Was it distraction, or again that word that I used, joint attention? When me and my baby are pointing to a crow and looking at it and talking about it, is different from my child watching something and me feeding from here.
Yeah.
It is completely different. Okay, and in a couple of interviews earlier also, I've mentioned the same cases where I had two. One was an infant, one was a toddler, extremely overweight. Okay, like, and then in my usual questions, I was asking about screen time, and I could see a direct correlation, because for these babies, screen time was associated with meals, and it meant that once they finish eating, the screen will be put down. Till they finish eating, the screen will... So these babies continue to eat because they wanted to continue to see. So they kept taking in more than... So it had gone to a point where now, imagine a toddler being overweight or on the side of maybe obese, and imagine, right, that's not a problem we ever had, right? So this is one side of the story, that, okay, this distraction is different from this distraction, and while we're distracting this child, we are also losing out on the mind-body connect, right? Where this child was eating more than they needed. Another issue is that these children now, just like your Pavlov's experiment, where the dog, you ring the bell and it salivates, it associates it. This becomes a long-term association. I know 25-year-olds and 30-year-olds who tell me that for them, if they want to go sit in front of the TV, they need to pick up a snack and go and sit. And if they pick up a snack to eat, they will go to the TV room.
Right.
These two things become inseparable. It just becomes associated. And this is the association we are developing for a lifetime. And it's a very, very unhealthy association, right? Secondly, the point that you raised about 15 minutes, very nutritious meal I gave and I finished it instead of giving very little of whatever. So firstly, one thing I always tell parents is, why are we always focusing on how much? Because every parent who comes will say, சாப்பிட்றதே இல்லை, and they'll say, ஒரே ஒரு இட்லி தான் சாப்பிட்டான், இவ்வளோதான் சாப்பிட்டான், சாப்பிட்றது இல்லைங்க, இல்லைன்னா கொடுத்தா தான் சாப்பிட்றான், இது கொடுத்தா. It's like, do we force feed a pup or a kitten? Do we force feed an animal? I mean, does not every animal already have an idea of how much it needs and what to eat and how much to eat? Not what to eat maybe, but how much to eat and when to eat. So while it is difficult once the child starts going to school, because then we have these rigid routines where there is a lunch break, there is a breakfast time, there is a dinner time. At least up until then, we do have the liberty of not asking the child to eat when we think it is time for the child to eat, but rather going with the cue of the child. Because no child is going to go hungry. If he's hungry, he's going to come and ask you for it. Why are we not respecting that? And I actually experimented. So my children are my lab rats, okay? So I actually experimented with my daughter when she was 5 and my son was 3. The entire holidays, I had no meal time. I never spoke about food. Exactly around 11:15 to 11:45, she would come and tell me she's hungry. And there'll only be healthy food at home. And there's variety. So she would eat. Then she would go until 8 in the night with nothing. And she did this for 2 months. And she was perfectly fine. She was active, she grew, she put on weight, and she was perfectly fine. So our obsession with we have to eat in so many intervals, we have to give so much, we have to, is actually interfering with our child's relationship with food. Where we are telling them, you don't know. I only know how much you should eat. I only know when you should eat. I only know what. Right? And we are interfering. And similarly with sleep. We are telling them when to sleep, how much to sleep. Like how often do we see when a child says, எனக்கு பசிக்கல, அது எப்படி பசிக்காம இருக்கும், காலையிலேருந்து நீ ஒன்றுமே சாப்பிடல. Straight out we have told the child, you don't know your body, I know your body better than you. And a child is wired to believe the adult. And the child actually starts believing you, right? And the child now thinks that, okay, Amma only knows, I don't know. And then you lose your mind-body connect. And how often also we see when this child comes and says, pasikide, ippudan evlo saapta, adu eppadi pasikkum. So at every point, we are negating something, such a basic instinct that every living thing is born with, right? Even sleep. தூக்கம் வரலன்னு சொன்னால் எப்படி காலையிலேருந்து ஓடிட்டுருக்குற எப்படி தூக்கம் வராமல் இருக்கும்? தூக்கம் வருதுன்னு சொன்னால் காலையிலேருந்து தூங்கிட்டு தானே இருக்கிற, திருப்பி இப்போவும் தூக்கம் வருதா? ஸோ we are all the time questioning a child who is just genuine. Why would the child say that? Does the child have an agenda? Why would the child want to go hungry? The child doesn't have an agenda. He's not trying to cheat us. Right? The child is just saying it. But we are constantly pushing them into a space where you don't know, I know, you don't know, I know. So my question is, my suggestion is, concentrate on the quality of the food and the variety of the food that you're giving. Make sure that your child eats everything. Literally, my dad never allowed us to say no to anything. But he never insisted on the quantity. So, focus on the quality, not the quantity. Don't tell them how much to eat, but regulate what they eat. And also try not to tell them when to eat, whenever possible. Because when we have holidays, I don't insist. My daughter says sometimes, I don't feel like having lunch. I'm like, okay, don't eat.
So what
as long as you're not junking.
Yeah.
Because I don't have junk at home. So you cannot eat junk.
Yes.
Right? So if I have only fruits and vegetables and rice and whatever, then when she's hungry, she has to eat one of those things only. Right?
So in allowing the independence to eating, when it's a no screen time. So I'm restricting screen, I'm allowing the child to listen to their cues. However, when it comes to school times, we have to stick to a schedule.
Yeah.
So if 7 o'clock is dinner time, 7 o'clock is dinner time.
Yeah.
So
yeah, at that point we can choose how much they want to eat, right? At least that.
Yeah.
And if what is going to happen, what really is going to happen if they don't eat one meal? Nothing.
Yeah, this is a very important question. What if they skip one meal, or what if they have half the quantity of their desired meal for one time? Is a very big topic of discussion between the parents or between parents and grandparents.
Yeah.
That the parent is penalized for letting them go, saying it's okay if you're not feel hungry, you can stop now.
Yeah,
Is a
exactly.
problem.
So that's so important.
So we get to hear, right? டிவியாவது போட்டு அந்த பாத்திரத்துல இருக்கிறத முடிச்சு விடு, அந்த பவுல்ல இருக்கிறத முடிச்சு விடு.
Yeah, it's very sad because we all the time are focusing only on the quantity and really letting go of what else are we affecting when we're doing this. It's I think it's so deep in our culture.
Yeah.
It's very difficult. But again, when coming to school time and things like, for example, for my daughter and son, I used to actually request the school to not insist on quantity. Let them eat how much they want to eat. So don't have to insist that so much has to be put and so much has to be eaten. But at home, the rule is that you don't say no to trying anything new. You're not allowed to say no to trying something. And that is something that I do in my farm camps as well. So I do have these farm camps, and the number one rule is you will eat what I give. You can eat how much you want. You can serve how much you want, but you're going to try everything. Otherwise, you leave. And at the end of it, they're all okay, eating whatever they've tried for the first time in their lives, Kheer, first time in their lives, Pavaka, and they start liking it. So the only thing was, there was no adult telling them, no, it's good for you, do it. Sometimes it's like this. We already assume that some things are going to be difficult. Like Pavaka is something that the child will not eat. So we do so much drama before we give that Pavaka. The child already knows that, oh, I'm not supposed to like this. So I'll fuss.
Yeah.
Before brushing itself, so much drama that child is going to resist. We would have done so much that the child already has the cues that, oh, it's supposed to be an unpleasant activity, looks like, so may as well fuss. Right? So many of the things that we have some preconceived notions that the child is going to restrict, is going to resist this, is going to react badly to this, and most of the time the child only lives up to what we expect of them. The child does not have any need to live,
Over
higher
and
than
above that.
over and above that, right? So I think basic rethinking of some things is important. And 7 o'clock dinner, when you said, again, how much activity has the child had? What time of the year is it? Is it winter? Is it summer? Because according to the weather and the climate, your appetite changes. According to the activity, the appetite changes. According to the age, the appetite changes. Sometimes you're going through some growth spurts when you're so hungry. And an adolescent requires more sleep.
Yes.
So in fact, during adolescence, our circadian rhythm shifts a couple of hours. How many of us are even aware of that? You do see teenagers who want to stay up late and wake up late.
Yeah.
Why is it happening with all teenagers? And why are we waking them up early? Because their actual body itself, their hormones itself are working much later, and they need to sleep later, wake up later. Actually.
But the schools or colleges are not
So we
going
don't
to.
have a choice. So at least on Saturday, Sundays, we let them sleep in.
Okay.
Let them catch up on some. And don't penalize them for being so drowsy in the morning. Because that's their body. It's like a pregnant woman, the first 3 months, you have morning sickness, you can't. It's like that. That adolescent boy is feeling that. He's actually, it's his hormones.
Right.
That's overwhelming him.
Right.
And a lack of understanding of these things make us stick so much to our routines that it actually doesn't serve the child.
Yeah. So we started with screen and went to food. So actually, it's all interconnected.
Yeah.
So parenting is about not just doing or understanding one thing, you understand the entire gamut of things. But one question that I have is, it's always easier if we start as a no gadget family or no gadget dinner time. The transitioning or the changing part is the most difficult.
Very true.
If the child has been doing a gadget-based eating for, like, say, 5 years of life, suddenly one day the mother or father has woken up to something like this and said, today onwards, no more TV at dinner time, hurts the child a lot.
Yeah.
They may throw tantrums or some, listen to the rules and process it all inside. So, what's a gentler way to transition if someone was to watch this and say that, okay, I am going to make my meal times gadget free. However, it has been with gadgets. So, how can they gently transition to no screen meal times?
So this is like asking, an adult who's addicted to drugs or alcohol, how do I now, okay, I was having 4 larges, now next tomorrow I'll have 3.5, and now then 3 and then 2. So we don't do it like that actually, right? Because, and many parents also ask me the reverse, which is, திடீர்னு கொடுத்தோன்னா fully they'll fall into it. So கொஞ்சம் கொஞ்சமாக கொடுக்கலாம். ஸோ அதே மாதிரி நீங்கள் சிகரெட் கொஞ்சம் கொஞ்சமாக அரை சிகரெட் ஒரு சிகரெட் கொடுக்கலாம். ஃபர்ஸ்ட் 5 ml 10 ml ஆல்கஹால் கொடுக்கலாம். அதுக்கப்புறம் வந்து பெரியவன் ஆனதுக்கப்புறம் 18 வயசில் ஒரு லார்ஜ் கொடுக்கலாமா? It's as simple as that, right? So we know it is negative, we know it's addictive, we know it's causing them harm. So do we want to give it less or more? So when you're saying transitioning, it's very, very, very valid, your question, that rather than starting off as no gadget, when you transition, it becomes difficult. But the later you put off the transition, the different kind of challenges you're going to face. With a toddler, he's probably going to cry for 3 days during mealtime. He's probably going to throw a tantrum, roll on the floor, throw things, right? Okay. With a 4-year-old, it's probably going to take 1 week or 10 days, where he's going to be moody, he's going to be upset, he's going to not talk to you, he's going to tell you you're the worst mom in the world, right? With an 8-year-old, it'll be different. At 14, they'll be cutting themselves if they're girls, and if they're boys, they leave home, or they actually abuse the mother or the father. I have 16-year-olds who hit their moms, who have beaten up the mother. I have 15-year-olds who have left home. So the earlier we do it, the better. And very often, having the right conversation with the child is ready for it. I had a 7.5-year-old from the US, Indian child, born and brought up there, was completely addicted. Like every word definition of a screen addiction he had, from his eye contact, to his speech, to his body language, to his emotional meltdowns, to his everything. They'd been all over the place, and whatever, they'd had some scans done, all sorts of things. So 1 hour conversation with him, and he was challenging me about my IQ. He was saying how high his IQ was, and he's going to have a gaming arcade when he grows up. He was 7.5-year-old. And went through everything, and at the end I just suggested, do you think you want to try 1 day without a phone? He had a meltdown, like he was crying. Just my suggestion. I didn't take away the phone. I didn't tell the parents to. I just asked him, do you want to try? He had a meltdown. He was like, he couldn't even take it. Then I said, sit with that thought, think about it, tell me. You can go home now. 2 days later, he came back. And he came with his parents. Like he wanted to see me. And he came back and he had written a letter to me. And he had somehow, on the way back, decided that he's going to try it. And he tried it. And that is the most moving note I've received in my life, what that child wrote in his own broken, with the spelling mistakes and everything, how his brain was clearer and how he's getting new ideas and how he's going to try it for longer and things. So once we give the child the right information, see, the children read, very often we see these videos where these teachers are telling, like, making it look like somebody's watching a screen and the eyes are bleeding and all. This is so deep in our culture, right? We like to scare this guy. Paambu kannu kothirum, adanala pannakoodadhu, saami idu panirum, adanala pannakoodadhu. We never tell them actually why they shouldn't do it. But all the children respond to when we tell them why actually they shouldn't. And even a 2-year-old is able to understand if you speak that language. If you tell, see now how beautifully you're speaking. Do you know that you won't be able to speak like this if you keep looking at this? See how beautifully you're drawing now. Do you know that the skill will go away? Oh, you're doing math so fast. Do you know that this can slow down if? So depending on the age of the child, the interest of the child, and what, if you speak that language with the child and tell them actually genuinely that you know that if you do this, this is so great what you have, and this is going to go away, all children respond.
Okay.
I mean, like I'm speaking from my experience of 20 years, and every single child responds in their own way. May not be in the exact same degree, but they all respond positively. So we underestimate the ability of a child to understand things, concepts, importance of things, correlations. Actually, even an infant is able to understand. So, yeah, this has been wired into the child. It's become a habit. But once we have given, we have replaced it with something else. Like most children actually enjoy if the mother is actually sitting with them and talking to them and telling them a story. Talking them about their own lives. We underestimate the power of our own stories and us. Like what happened when I was a child. You know, my grandmother did this, I did this naughty thing, I got caught for this, or me and my sister used to do this. These are the things that actually the children love. And even my adolescents who write in my questionnaires, what are the things that their complaints about the adults around them is, my parents are not talking to me. They are not telling me about their life. They're not telling me about themselves. They're not listening to what I did. So even an adolescent is asking for that. So can you imagine how much more important it is for a little child?
Younger child.
So we underestimate our own worth and capacity as a parent in being that role model for that child. And at that point, our child needs us more. And they actually would appreciate your time more. And to give them that replacement, I think is such a gift that we can give our children, right? And to ourselves as mothers. Because that's, I think, it's such a sacred time. The breastfeeding time or the feeding time and putting the child to bed time is the most sacred times that we can't go back to. And we only have it during those first years. And I think making the most of it would mean one-on-one interaction with the child. And it's such a disservice if we are not able to. Of course, it's understandable, you're traveling or it's a situation. It should be a one-off thing rather than, you know, the main way of doing it. And transitioning, while it's difficult, the earlier we do it, the better. And trust the child to understand. They will.
Thank you. I'll just take a break to put this on silent. Okay. So the next question that I have is the adults using gadgets, be it for their leisure or be it for their work. Today, every adult does work on phone, not just for people who work in the IT. A doctor can take appointments on phone. A person can provide their services on phone. So phone has become inseparable for adults who work.
Yeah.
So the kids grow up watching that. Forget the babies, but at least preschoolers and around 10-year-olds know that they are going to be using gadgets for work in the future. So they kind of try and rational with the adults that I am going to be using phone when I grow up. So why can't I do a little bit of TV time or little bit of, I'm just going to use Google to search answer for my work questions. I'm just going to look for some information of my interest. How do we answer or respond to those questions? And what should adults do when they have to get their work done through gadgets as well?
Yeah, it's a sad reality of today that we are dependent so much on our gadgets, and it's sadder that we have such a small thing that can, you know, interfere so much with our life. It's extremely important to have that work-life balance, right? Like, where do I stop work, which is home and which is work? Because work is coming into home, but home is not going into work, right? You're working and then you bring work back home as well.
Yeah.
And who are you working for?
The children.
Yeah. And that's our justification, that it's work. And this, I mean, in this recent Nia Nana also, no, like the justification of the other side was all like, our work is on this, our work is on this. But okay, where does that work end? Right? And this obsession with having to answer immediately. How did the world go on before, like, you know, before cell phones or before WhatsApp, right? Why, just because that person had the time to ask me that question at that point, does not mean that I have to answer it immediately. So I turn off blue tick. So I am not accountable to anybody. I will answer when I have the time, because my time is mine. It's my space. So as long as you treat your space as sacred, no, you'll not let this thing come into. So for example, one simple thing that I do is if I'm on a call on my way back home, so at work I don't pick up calls. So I do my calls on my way back home. So I'll return all the missed calls or whatever. And if I'm still on the call, I don't get out of my car till I finish that call. And the minute I've come home, I'm going to cut it short because I know children are waiting for me. I would never walk into my door on the phone or looking at my phone. And I would never leave my house looking at my phone or on the phone. This is a rule that I have for myself. Because that means when I'm entering, I'm present fully, and when I'm leaving, I'm present fully. At least that, right? I believe that my family at least deserves that, right? And of course, no phones at dinner time. So how am I like, okay, I'm in a job which requires me to be online, whatever. But isn't it important that we have specific time during which time you're going to tell your child, okay, for this next half an hour, I'm going to go away because I need to attend to these things. But then after that, if I'm going to be fully available for the next 1 hour for my child, your child is going to be okay with that. The problem is your child is sitting here and I'm here, and then we're doing this. Neither am I paying attention to you, nor am I paying attention to this. And children hate it, when their mother or father's attention is divided, when they're trying to tell you something. It's very sad because they really get demotivated to share. And then when we have finished with this, we go back and, okay, tell me what happened today. You're not ready for it now.
Yeah.
So for us to be available, so I always tell moms, never look too busy for your child. It's so important because children take it seriously, because children care for us in a way that we don't understand. Like the adolescents who talk to me, they say, my mom can't handle it. She'll feel bad if I told her about this. I don't want to hurt them. Most of the time, these children are so worried about their parents. Excuse me, we are the adults. We are the ones who should be strong enough for them. They should feel like they can open up to us, right? And if your child is going to always feel mom is too busy, Amma's already worked, Amma's already overworked, Amma's already busy, then your child is going to feel like a burden. And do you want your child to feel like a burden on you? So I know today's life is difficult for moms, working moms, but again, there's no other go than to make ourselves look available even if we are not, pretend that we don't have that headache, or, it's sometimes so important to do that, because so that your child feels okay to come and open up to you when they have a problem. Because if the child really needs to share something and it looks like you've had such a bad day and you're so irritable, or, your child is never going to come to you. So while it is difficult, parenting is not easy. Don't ever think it is easy. It's not difficult either. It's just how you look at it and how much are we willing to really give it, because it requires, the more you give, especially the initial years, the more you get, out of it. So I think physically making that time for our child, making sure that our work doesn't interfere with our time with our child, making sure that my child doesn't feel like the second priority, making sure that when she has something to say, I turn it off and put it away and listen to her fully. These are all such important things, because I do see that child is talking and mom is scrolling is the worst thing that we can do, because then when we go and talk, they're not ready for it. They're like, you're not there for me. And so we set bad examples when we let, in the name of work, because very often, though it is work, sometimes we go into something else also, which need not be answered, which is an emergency to answer. And the young adults today who are so into their phones, their perception of what is immediately like priority and what is not priority itself is shifted.
Yeah.
Everything is priority. Every message has to be answered immediately. Every mail has to be answered. Everything has to be replied with a sticker or with a meme. Somebody sends a meme, you have to send back one. If somebody sends a comment, you have to acknowledge that comment. So your perception of, is this right now my priority or not, itself has shifted by virtue of being distracted so much. So unless you're going to give your mind that downtime, you're not going to be in your senses to actually tell the difference of, Ippo, this is important, Ippo, this is important. So all my answers are very complicated, sorry. There's no simple answer.
So the next question that I have is, if there is no choice, or if there is a designated time to allow gadgets, or for that matter, TV time, any screen time to children, first question Yanana, is TV better than a handheld gadget? Is the first question that I want to ask, because for some reason I practice screen time to an extent and zero gadget. Is that better or worse?
100% better. Again, it used to be better a few years earlier before we got smart TVs, because now that's another challenge. Because yeah, if you were to ask me, between a smartphone and between a handheld gadget and a TV, TV is better. In the TV, now what are they watching?
Yeah.
Where is the TV in the house? Is there an adult with the child when they're watching? And for what purpose are they made to watch the TV? These are all very important questions because it impacts differently, right? For a very young child, like I told you already, watching with an adult doesn't cause as much damage as the child left to his own devices, literally, right? So, is an adult with the child, interacting with the child while they're watching content together, less harmful? Is it in a dedicated room separately where nobody else goes in? It's different from having it in a place where everybody has access to it. Is it something where does the content have a beginning and an end? That is something I really insist upon, because I tell parents I would much rather have my child watch a 3-hour movie at the end of the week with family, which I chose, than them watching 45 minutes every day of
like
random
a series
stuff.
Or random
Series
stuff.
or random stuff. Because very often when you ask what content is your child watching, parents are not really aware. Many times I ask this, the child is saying something, the mother is saying something, the father is saying something else. I say how much time? All three of them have different numbers to give. Either the mother is conscious about it, does not want to really reveal, the father is more open about it, and the children just don't care, they're just telling you what they watch. So very often we are not paying attention to, okay, what are they doing? Because the scrolling, the doom scrolling and the shorts and the reels do the maximum damage.
Yeah.
And the so-called programs meant for kids, they're way more harmful because they're rigged so badly to keep that child
Attention.
as distracted as possible and keep their attention as, so the more we go into children's content, of course, you have shows that are slightly better. So it's not like all children's shows are bad. For example, one of my daughter's friends, she introduced me to this thing. She said my cousins, who are much younger to her, they watch this thing called Vlad and Nikki. And I was very
Classic
curious.
now.
I went and I looked at it and I could not believe it. Because the very two kids who are the people running the show are themselves completely damaged and dumbed down by gadgets.
Yeah.
Their very way they talk, their body language, everything is of a child who is already affected by screens. And now you are feeding this content to another child. It's like double damage.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that, and then she told me about one more thing, that was Roma and Diana.
and Roma.
Right? Yeah. So I would rate those two off. See, I might not know a few other things, but then of the things that I have tried to look up, and those two were like some of the worst, right? Because you can actually tell when the child is talking to the parent in that entitled way, like how it happens in Roma and Diana, right? Because the children are the ones who, it's, I don't know, it's that attitude itself is different
Yes.
with the parents.
Yes. Yes.
And you do see the children actually speaking in that same tone with the parents and stuff like that. So definitely TV is a better option. But again, like the previous question, you told me something like my child will say, I'm just going to research something, I'm just going to find out something on Google, I'm just going to. But my take on this is completely opposite, where research and documentaries and information and Google and these things look like the harmless parts, like actually useful things, and entertainment looks like the bad part. I would actually say the opposite, because if we are giving our children screens for entertainment, then it is purely for entertainment's sake. And then you choose your entertainment wisely, whatever it is that you're going to play. Whereas, if we are going to substitute it for a book, or for a interaction, or for an interview, or for something that you can ask somebody and learn, or for something that you can experiment by yourself and learn, or for something that you're going to think and learn, or for something that is going to involve many days of wonder, right? Because all that is gone when you Google something.
True.
Right? True. Because when we were studying and some concept was introduced to us, or some place or something or anything for that matter, all we could do was wonder.
Yeah.
There sometimes will be a picture of it, one basic picture of it in the book. Sometimes that's also not there. And at least when I studied, we just had to wonder. And that wonderment and that did a lot of good for us, because that's what helped with the imagination and the creativity and the interest and the curiosity and all those things for that thing. And therefore, when you first saw that thing or that place or that whatever, the excitement was that much more, because of the time that you spent just wondering what it was.
Yeah.
And that's what we are not giving our children by giving them the answers on Google or now AI, right? So while this looks like most people would say, this generation is so lucky, you know, எங்களுக்குலாம் இதெல்லாம் இருந்துச்சுன்னா நாங்களாம் எப்படி படிச்சிருப்போம், இவ்வளோ இது அவைலபிளாக இருக்கு, உங்களுக்குலாம் வந்து இப்படி இருக்கு அப்படி. Actually, we would have been done way worse.
Perhaps.
Yeah. Because
Sorry, I have this question. I don't know if you watched, there's a podcast episode of Gopinath with Arvind Srinivas, the founder of Perplexity.
Okay.
I happened to watch that. அதில் அவர் என்ன சொல்லியிருந்தாரு அப்படின்னா, the usage of AI by kids. So he was differentiating Perplexity from other AI tools, that it is easier for children to find answer for things that are already available, so that they can look out for unsolved problems and become more curious. That is, இப்போ 3+3 = 6 வந்து ஒரு குழந்தை திரும்ப திரும்ப போட்டு பழக வேண்டாம், அந்த ஆன்சர் வந்து ஈஸியாக அவைலபிளாக இருக்குது. ஸோ வாட் ஆஃப்டர் தேட் அப்படிங்கிற கியூரியாசிட்டி இஸ் த மோஸ்ட் இம்பார்ட்டன்ட் ஸ்கில் ஃபார் அ சைல்ட். அதை வளர்க்கணும். ஸோ அவர் டூல் இஸ் ஆல்சோ கேட்டர்ட் டு ask more questions. So ask more so you know more or you find more. So this is in contrast. So what do you think about that?
Absolutely disagree with that, because actually it so happened that I was in the Ooty Lit Fest last year, and I had to choose between two, because ரெண்டு இடத்துல பண்ணுவாங்க. வெளியே ஒரு செஷன் போயிட்டு இருக்கும், உள்ள ஒரு செஷன் போயிட்டு இருக்கும். Inside the Ooty library one will go on outside in the ground. And somehow I missed I had to keep choosing which one, because I had to miss one to attend the other one. And in one particular thing, I missed the one on AI. And I was with the other thing. And by the time I came out, it was over. And there were at least 3 people from that crowd who came and told me, you should have been there. We didn't know what to ask. He was telling, we knew it was wrong, but we didn't know. We couldn't bring up the argument, because I was like, oh shit, I missed it. Because see, while this is the argument that they give, see, every part of cognitive development is as important. And memory is something that we are thinking is, like you said, this is already known. But exercising your memory is so important to the rest of your cognition as well. So there is a use for it. There is a necessity for you to also exercise the part where you have to remember things. Right? So we have something called executive functions. Okay, there are 3 executive functions that we talk about, which is one of the things is working memory. Okay, mathadenana self-control and cognitive flexibility. So self-control is how much not every child will have the same amount of self-control, but at certain ages we expect certain amount of self-control, and you can test these executive functions at a different age appropriate. And one thing for sure is, there's this beautiful study that was done over 1,000 adults over 30 years. So it's like a good, data, credible study, which showed a direct correlation between how high your executive functioning was at 3 years and how successful you were in life at 30 years.
I think I have read this.
Okay.
It's a longitudinal
and success வந்து, you're not talking about career and wealth and stuff like that. You're talking about the overall thing, your health, your mental health, your support system, your family, your social circles, your career, your ability to save money, your ability to stay out of jail, everything. Okay, so so it's not like இது வந்து ஆல்ரெடி தெரிஞ்சிச்சு இதையும் தெரிஞ்சுக்கிறதுக்கு there has to be the organic process. There is no shortcut. Always, that's what I tell children. If something seems easy, it's probably not doing you much good.
Right.
Anything that's of value usually is hard.
Right.
It takes time, it takes effort, and it's harder. And if it is really easy, either you're like super skilled at it, or it's not really worth it. Like, for example, I always like to take the example of the Rubik's Cube. Right? How I solved the Rubik's Cube was when I was in grade 6, and I spent an entire holiday in the bed of my grandparents' house when everybody was playing, because I just had to crack it, and I did it. I sat for hours every day, and I finally did it. And as a teacher, when I was going in the school bus one day and I saw these second grade kids solving the Rubik's Cube, I was like, what? I mean, these kids are genius. First I saw one kid, then I saw 3 kids. Then I was like, how did you do this? So they were like, formula, right? So I said, what formula? I didn't know. I was very like, this was 13 years back, and I was like, what formula? They were like, Akka, there's a formula. You have to do like this, first step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, and this. And I said, oh no, please don't do the formula. They're like, there's no other way to do it. So we have this generation that thinks the only way to solve a Rubik's Cube is by using a formula. And who found the formula? Somebody found the formula. A monkey can do this. If I tell a monkey, step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, keep repeating it, and it can do it. I have not put in any effort. So unless there's no shortcut. So unless you've done this, you can't go here. Whether it's the curiosity, see, even asking the right questions. So sometimes when I'm in a group, and I'm not talking about myself, but I'm just saying that when you ask a question, and then you wonder, why didn't everybody else have that question? And it would seem so natural to you that this question should have come up.
Yes. Yes.
Why didn't this come?
Yes.
So where did we miss out?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? So therefore, I think giving answers too easily doesn't do any good at all.
Yeah.
And that time so I call it information gratification. So like I was saying, instead of letting them wonder, instead of so I would rather give it for entertainment, pure sheer entertainment, rather than for any educational purposes. Even if it's educational purposes, if it is a documentary and if it is credible and we have a beginning and an end, then yes. And if it is age appropriate for the child, right? But showing a 2.5-year-old something and you think it's educative is just fooling yourself, because a 2.5-year-old is not going to make a coherent narrative of what they're watching. They're just simply staring at it because the scenes are flipping and it's distracting them. That's it, right? So yeah, I think I wouldn't agree with what he was saying.
Okay.
Yeah. At all. Yeah.
Yeah. Because this was such a curiosity for me.
Yeah.
You know,
I should go back and watch this so I
Yes.
can explain better, because I don't know exactly what he said.
Sure.
But
I'll send across the link.
yeah, because there are already studies that are showing that the hippocampus is shrinking in people who are using AI more, in children, and how they are not able to come up with a lot of things cognitively. A lot of things are taking a hit by people who have started depending on AI, and physically we are seeing changes in the brain.
Yeah, yeah. So, for example, when I was preparing to have you in this podcast, so an AI would have given me, you know, questions in 2 minutes, but then I took that time to just put myself through the situation to see what a mother would do. What are the engagements that a parent has? And I asked my community, what are the questions you have? What are your primary challenges? Then the organic questions kept coming.
Yeah.
So all I need to do is to pick and choose what would most benefit, and it's done.
Yeah.
While I could have done it, in a minute. I think it's all a matter of choice on whether I can do it on my own, whether I really need an AI to expedite me or shortcut me into
And
this.
it becomes a dependence so quickly without our own realization. Yesterday I was having a conversation with one of my friends who she was also saying that, you know, it's I'm having to exercise. She's one who has attended my silent hijack 7 times. and she's like, she wants to have like complete self-control and all, but she was telling like, I'm very careful, I only use it for this, I only use it. I said, okay, fine, it's fine.
So
So
this is very important because this creates a segue to how adults can stay away from screens.
Yeah.
I glorified adults already that they are using screens or they are using gadgets for work, but how many of us pick up the gadget to only respond to an office mail or an office
Correct.
call? Invariably our fingers move to Instagram or any social media to check. And this is a question from my team as well, that this is not a mom and child question, but then how to not have the gadget by my side all the time, or why is it that I involuntarily go access the gadget and somehow get myself fallen into social media scrolling? What exactly is happening to us, or rather why is it happening, and how can we stop that from happening?
So that's why my talk is called The Silent Hijack, because it's a very, very subconscious neurological thing. It has to do with neuroscience. So we cannot talk about this without talking about dopamine. Yeah, so dopamine is your happy hormone or your pleasure hormone, your reward hormone, your motivation hormone. It has different names. But basically the science behind it is that dopamine makes you feel good.
Yeah.
Right? Why did our brain choose to give us this feel-good thing, right? So that's the bigger question. Okay, what makes us feel good? We only speak about dopamine when we are talking about addiction usually, right? Cigarette addiction, drugs, alcohol and all these things, we speak about dopamine. But dopamine can also be secreted in many other situations, right? Especially workout, physical exercise, a run, meeting someone you like, doing something great. All of these things can also. But one thing that many of us don't know is that dopamine is also released when we get new information. Every time you receive any information, your brain releases dopamine. Or why did our brain start to release dopamine for new information? Evolutionarily, it would have made a lot of sense, because when I was a caveman, knowing more about my environment, receiving information about meant better survival, meant I can be the leader of my tribe, meant I could find a mate more easily. So everything mattered, every information that I had around me and knowing it. So my brain obviously was rewarding me so that I would seek information and feel good about it, so that my survival is getting better. Now fast forward to 2020s and 25, and we live in a world where every information that we receive is not useful. In fact, 99.9% of the information we receive is absolutely useless trash, which has no meaning to our lives. And our brain is still rewarding us, because that's how evolution works. We don't, suddenly realize that. So our brain is what we call qualitatively neutral. Right?
Okay.
It's not going to do quality control for you. It's just going to reward you for every information you receive, whether it is some, real trash that is not needed, some trivia, it is some gossip, it is whatever it is, or it is a wrong call. It is still, even if it is of wrong number, or a guy asking you if you want a loan, you're still getting rewarded for it. And you're still feeling high.
Right. So the question is, getting a reward hormone or getting a dopamine hit is doing something good to us. No, we feel good when it happens. So what is wrong with it getting fed by an Instagram or
because we have
anything?
only so much dopamine that we can produce.
Oh, all right. Okay.
And it's a homeostasis. I would have explained already in one of my videos, where there's a pain-pleasure balance. Okay, so it's like this. Every system in our body is a balance, it's a homeostasis. So here we have pain and here we have pleasure. So your dopamine is going to cause you more and more pleasure. It could be chocolates, it could be shopping, it could be phone, it could be anything, social media, and you're going like this. So you're off balance right here. Now your system has to achieve homeostasis, right? So unless and until you feel an equal and opposite amount of pain or more, you will not come back to that balance. And the quicker and faster, the quicker and more the rate at which you experience these highs, the more the lows are going to be.
Okay.
So just like A person who with maybe 30 ml of alcohol was feeling a high would need 60 ml later with any drug like that matter. The same thing works here. But to feel the same amount of pleasure, to feel the same amount of dopamine hit or a high, you now require more and more and more stimulation. And then your body is only capable of producing so much dopamine in a day. So you run out of it. What happens when you run out of it? And that's when you feel your lows. Because you have to be at baseline, basically. There has to be a baseline for you to feel a high. It also explains why children are not interested in anything anymore, because they're already high on something or the other. There's already so much information. Our world is so stimulative and so full of information that nothing seems exciting for them anymore because they're already high up there. We've not allowed them to come back to that reset or a flat line where they can again feel that high. Right? And once you keep flying up there high and then you've exhausted your system of that dopamine, you go into that low, which is where you're feeling the depression, anxiety, panic, all of those things for no reason. You don't even know why I'm feeling it. I'm feeling restless, I'm feeling something, I'm feeling this. And then again, your body is telling you that reach out for that phone because that's what made you feel good, because you don't know, right? And then you keep squeezing out the very last drops of whatever you have. And that is where the difference is. Whereas when you're getting that same dopamine high by physically exerting yourself, it is a slow and sustained release where your homeostasis is not going to cause you so much of a negative imbalance. It's more sustained, it's more relaxed, it's more thing. So there is a big difference between what is giving you the dopamine high and what rate. So the addictive potential of a substance depends upon how much and how fast it makes your system release dopamine.
Okay.
And your phones are designed to make it the highest, right? Like the algorithm, everything is designed by the best neuroscientists and psychologists who know the human brain way better. So we have the best work going into how to addict people rather than how to get them out of it, right? So another very important thing is it's not just a reward hormone, it's a motivation hormone. So for example, if I were if I were a caveman or hunter, gatherer, whatever, and I was going to hunt and I see an antelope in front of me, the mere sight of that antelope is going to give me a dopamine high because it's motivating me to go and hunt it so I get food.
Yes.
Okay. And that is what this taking the phone and looking at it works, because when you look at your Instagram and you look at your comments or that heart or whatever, there is that 1 second lag before you know whether you've got a comment or a like, right? It's designed because you already got a dopamine high, whether or not.
Wow. Okay. Okay.
So whether or not you've got it, you've already felt that high, which is what makes you want to keep going back. So I know this is bad for me. I know this is doing me no good, but I can't stop myself. Well, this is what is happening. The plain pleasure, homeostasis, your dopamine, your motivation hormone, and how this thing is designed. So once you understand that these people are out there to get me, and and I'm feeling very good about it and going and falling into it,
Okay.
then your relationship with that changes. You start looking at it with more skepticism. Yeah.
Sometimes I have felt that too while I'm away from my screen, say for example, decluttering my home or cleaning something or making it look good gives me that pleasure that I always go back. If I want to stay away from screen, I always pick up work that gives my hands some work. So for example, folding clothes, cooking or washing vessels, where I know that my hands are going to be busy doing something, sometimes makes me feel good. So how is the dopamine release in doing physical activities like
It's very
this?
good, but it's different for different people. See, that's where we need to draw the line, because depending on the temperament of the child or the adult, right? Not all children are same. Now, one child of yours might be happy sitting in that corner reading a book till you finish your podcast, while the other one might be running up and down, coming and calling you, disturbing you, asking you for your phone, right?
Yeah.
So now, that child who is going to anyway sit with a book, who is not bothered, who can keep herself occupied. Now, this child is not going to be as affected by a phone. as much as that other child would be. But who is the child whom we give the phone to? It is always that other child.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because he's the one we want to keep in control,
Yes.
who's a problem, who's
Yes.
not able to behave, who's not
Yes.
able to.
Yes.
And what are we doing? But he's the one who actually requires the other kind of attention, where he would benefit more from me talking to him, telling him, you need to do this, or giving him something else to do, making people talk to him, or making him observe others. Think all these things is what I would have done if not for this phone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now I've given him the phone and I've deprived him of all that, and I've put him onto something which is going to make him more addicted and more hyperactive and make his problem worse.
So watch out and understand the child's
Temperament.
behavior or their cues, and then cater accordingly.
Yeah.
Because not all children are made the same way.
And see, for you, you're telling that எனக்கு வந்து it will be very boring to fold clothes. Like, I wouldn't find it exciting.
Okay.
Okay, for me it would be something else, right?
Perhaps.
So for each person it is different.
different.
Right? What gives you that high? But if you haven't even experienced that and you don't even know where your high is, then how as an adult are you going to figure it out? Because the sad part is when I meet my adolescents in schools and I ask, or they're brought to me for counseling or something like that, and I'm talking to the child and I'm telling him, a 15, 16-year-old, சரி இப்போ வந்து உனக்கு ஃபுல்லாக டியூஷன்ஸ் தான் இருக்குது, இதுதான் இருக்குது, நான் வந்து அம்மா அப்பா கிட்ட I'm going to tell them to put you in a sport or a extra curricular. What do you want to do? You tell me, I'll tell. They'll say, I don't know.
Yeah. They've not
How
had the
sad
exposure.
is it that a 16-year-old hasn't figured out which sport is good for him, what he's good at, what extracurricular he's interested in, what is hobby, what is exciting him. It's very sad, right? Because that means we've not even given the child that opportunity to experiment and figure out what gives him that high. And if he has experienced that high, his addiction to this will probably be less, because he knows he can also get it like this, and he also knows that this is physically building him, or it's making him look better or whatever. It's so at least we have given that opportunity. And like this I see physically. Okay, there's one school specifically I remember, because I met a large number of children and I met them in small groups because they wanted me to work with every group. So I got a lot of time with that school. And in that school I noticed every class there would be one or two boys, 16, 17-year-olds, obese. And these were the boys, when I do like a ice-breaking kind of a drama exercise to start, I would ask them to use a word to describe themselves and so what they're feeling. The words I would hear is tired, lazy, disinterested, indifferent, don't care.
Don't care, yeah, I can relate.
Nothing. And then I started seeing a pattern. Okay, so I don't have like evidence, like data, but this is just my observation, which I feel now I need to start documenting, because in every class I saw these were the same boys. When we came to the question of video games, they were doing 4 hours plus of gaming, and these boys were all overweight.
Right.
And their sleep was very low. So these 4 factors were going in.
Common
The vocabulary they were using, the attitude to the circle, the sleep time, their gaming time, and their weight. So yeah, it's really, like, because those were the boys who have not really figured it out, or were not given an option to even figure out if they could. And probably their brains are like that, that they were those hyper children. And they were given it, and then they just went down that rabbit hole, right? So yeah, it's very, I mean, it goes deep. Like, that's what I was saying. It's deeper than it appears on the surface.
So be it the child or be it the adult, I think it is the exposure that they have or they put themselves through to see what they can do outside of phones, or what they could become outside of it, right? We were speaking before this that there is so much potential for the child to do much better in the absence or intervention of a gadget than they could with it.
Yeah.
But we limit their potential, assuming that they've done so much already, but the potential is so much.
Sometimes we think, he's okay because he's doing this and he's doing this, or we think he's doing this because of the gadget. So there are 2 things there. So the question always is, what would he have been without it? Probably better, most probably better, right? So yeah, so unless and until we give them those first initial growing years of that advantage of getting to do a lot of other things physically, like you were saying, using your hands. Like somewhere I read, it's a moot point whether the human brain created the human hand or the human hand created the human brain.
Wow. Okay.
Right?
So hands
Because, like,
play
for
such a
example,
huge
Waldorf
role.
and Montessori and all these methods, they do believe a lot in working.
Yeah.
That's extremely important
Yeah.
for your brain to develop. Whereas here we are only talking about academics and things like that, and screens also the same thing. We're not giving them enough work with their hands, and it's so important for physical activity during those growing years, and outdoor time, and one-on-one time, and socializing time, and all of these different experiences with different kinds of people and different adults in different environments, which is what would really give them. And if you're doing all of this, so I also see children who have screen time every day a little bit, but they turned out like really, because these parents are also actively engaging with them, so they're also doing something really good. So it's not just what the children are doing on the screen, it's also what they're doing when they're not on the screen. And that's what we need to focus more on, right? What else are we doing with our children?
Right.
Right? Is it tuitions, studies, and screens? Or is it studies, sports, it's outdoor time and screens? So each of these things play a different role, and the age.
One other important question, in support of parents who are trying to keep the children away from gadgets, about the elders at home, the parents or the grandparents.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's a classic. It comes in every one of my Mindful Moms meetups, and I go through that myself as well.
Yeah.
Is there an ideal answer that can solve all of us from our misery? How can we explain
Very
this
difficult.
to them,
Yeah.
or how can we do that? Because they
extremely
are not
difficult.
able to, right? They cannot run behind the child.
I still have a grandfather who will send me every day a video of how AI is good for the child, or
Oh, really?
because he attended one of my things. He's 80 plus. And he's so
contradicting
good
with
on
it.
gadgets, and he will keep sending me these silently he'll keep sending me these videos, and then I'll send him back something contradicting it. Yeah, but it's
But
an
we really want to
ongoing
know
struggle.
how to not hurt our relationships as well. We want to have a cordial relationship with our in-laws and parents, at the same time protect our children from gadgets when they are with them. So how do we do this?
At the risk of sounding like I'm trying to sell myself or my product, please bring them to the silent hijack, because I do have good success rate.
That's the simplest.
I actually mean it, because what I do is, when I do it with families outside, like outside of schools, even in schools, I tell them, ask the grandparents also to come if they can come. But rarely it happens. But at least when I do it with families, I tell parents, get the grandparents, get the maid.
Yeah.
Because these are all the people whom your child will go to. If the amma is strict and will not give, Paati will give. Paati doesn't give, Tata will give. Tata doesn't give, servant will give.
Yes. Yes.
So unless and until we have the entire household agree on something like this, we are not going to be able to achieve it, because we just become the bad person.
Yeah.
Because for the child, it makes me feel good. Why is Amma not giving? That's all it is, right? And if we're not able to answer to them at a level where they understand, which we can't expect everybody to be able to give, then it never is going to work. And it's very easy to offend our elders today. Because we are dependent on them, and we don't want to offend them. Genuinely, we want them to understand, and it's actually that is the biggest challenge.
Yes.
Okay, because moms are working, you need to leave them with the grandparents, and grandparents are more hooked onto phones than the children or the parents, and therefore now what do? There's no other go but to educate. So there's this Young Again Abhinu one NGO. This girl called Gopika from Salem. She's really passionate, like how you're doing this Mindful Moms thing. She works with elders, and we actually planned one in the farm for 65 plus, because all her age group, her parents, they're all in that, and they all are worried about their parents, because they're all living like Nana Nani or somewhere, the children are all somewhere else, the parents are somewhere. They're falling for these online scams.
Yeah.
They're all the time on WhatsApp. They're not able to tell between AI generated stuff and real stuff. They're getting they forward some random misinformation on family groups.
Yes.
And
Yes. Yes.
so they're so embarrassed of all these things, and they're not able to tell them. So they're like, can we have one silent hijack for all these older people? So somehow it didn't work out, but I really want to do. But that is a real challenge, and unless and until we sit down as a family and have this conversation and have certain agreements and boundaries regarding screen time that all of us agree to for the sake of that child, somebody has to do it. So that's what I, in my clinic, what I do is mothers like you will come and tell me. I'll say next time send the child with that grandparent. So I initiate that conversation like as if just randomly I'm talking about it. And I do it because usually it'll be multiple visits. And then I meet everybody over the few visits and I do it. But yeah, that is just like 1 or 2 families that I'm able to reach. But larger crowds, I think whoever in that house is conscious about this, it is their duty to make sure that there is a time then everybody sits together and agrees on certain doable things for that family, because one rule cannot apply to all. It's all different, right? Nuclear family is there.
So if this part is going to be watched by grandparents ன்னு வச்சுக்கோங்க. ஸோ ஒரு வீடு இருக்கு, அதில் there is a mother father, அவங்க அப்பா அம்மா இல்லைன்னா இன்லாஸ் இருக்காங்க. அந்த ஃபேமிலியில் பேரண்ட்ஸ் வந்து மைண்ட்ஃபுல்லாக கேஜெட் இல்லாமல் இருக்கணும்னு நினைக்கிறாங்க. அவங்களோட கிராண்ட் பேரண்ட்ஸ் கிட்ட என்ன சொல்ல முடியும், இல்லை இதை காட்ட முடியும் அப்படின்னா நீங்கள் அவங்களுக்கு
that is the biggest inheritance you can give to your grandchild.
Okay. In
that
Tamil.
is the best. அதாவது அவங்களுக்கு நீங்க what do I say in Tamil?
சொத்து.
அவங்களுக்கு நீங்க கொடுக்கக்கூடிய மிகப்பெரிய சொத்து வந்து இதுதான். What you will do with your grandchild when you don't give the gadget to the child, which is talk to your grandchild, carry them, play with them, sing to them, tell them stories, tell them about your life, make them help you at home. These are the biggest gifts that you can give your grandchild, and you're depriving them. அதாவது அவங்களுக்கு வந்து அது கிடைக்காம போகுது ஃபோன்னால. ஸோ
பட் டெய்லி உட்காந்து கதை சொல்லிட்டு இருக்க முடியும்.
ஏன் முடியாது? Of course. I miss the times that I don't know, maybe I'm like a little one of, maybe I'm a, what do you call, a mutant or something, but then it's actually addictive if you look at it, you know. Like when you start talking to children, you see their response to stories, because you know children can never have enough of stories and they love stories. And I think that's such a big gift that, you know, if grandparents are at home and if they can share with them, I don't think there's any bigger gift than for a grandchild than listening and spending time with their grandparents and, you know, knowing about the family, about their roots and about their culture, about their language, about their village. And I think
grandparents எப்படி அவங்களோட கேஜெட் டைமை விட்டு கொடுக்க வைக்கிறது? பிகாஸ் தே ஹாவ் ஸ்கெடியூல்ட் ஷோஸ் ஆன் டிவி, அதை அவங்க பார்த்தே ஆகணும் அந்த டைமில். அந்த டைமில் if kids are there, they invariably get exposed to that.
So that's why all of us need to sit together and talk so that we don't feel like our time is taken away or something like that. So for the sake of the child, what am I, in my role as a mother, as a grandmother, as a grandfather, what am I willing to give up? Right? So as a family, okay, this is the time the child is going to be at home. This is the child, Amma is not available. And this is a child you're away. This is the time you're available. So is it okay for you to not do this and do this with a child? I think the more we have conversations, because very often we are complaining. That's our culture again, right? We don't directly talk to the person who actually we have a problem with, but we talk about what problem we have to somebody else, and that doesn't do any good.
And also generalizing. Mothers today are like this, நீங்கெல்லாம் அவங்கெல்லாம்.
ஆமா. So வந்து டைரக்டா நம்ம பேசிட்டோம்னா it's actually not as bad as we think it could be. Of course, it's not easy. But I think it's so important. So that's what, like I said, everything that's important is not easy, it's hard. But we have to do it today because we don't have a choice. And I think sitting down as a family and making that plan for the sake of the child and agreeing on certain things and having those boundaries and having those agreements which are non-negotiables is very, very important. And everybody agreeing to these things. அது ரொம்ப ஸ்ட்ரிக்டாகவும் இருக்கக்கூடாது. You can make some exceptions, you know, on certain days when there's a birthday or there's a get together or something like that. The problem comes when too rigid and we're not giving that little allowance here and there also.
So little allowances here and there helps.
Here and there, but informed allowances. So today I am letting you, I am breaking this rule, or I am letting you because of this. Only today because of this. The communication is so important.
So important. Okay.
Right? That's where we miss out. We just say, okay, நீ போய் பாரு.
போய் பாரு. எதனால
நான் போறேன், நான் உனக்கு இன்னைக்கு அலோவ் பண்றேன், ஏன்னா இது நடந்துச்சு, அதனால என்னால வந்து கீப் அப் பண்ண முடியல என்னோட ப்ராமிஸ் இன்னைக்கு, அதனால நான் அலோவ் பண்றேன். That 1 minute of conversation is so important, is so vital.
So basically it's all about more communication.
I think so, yeah.
At least in my HR world, we always say there's nothing called as over communication. Keep communicating, keep communicating. And that applies to family as well.
Yeah.
Keep expressing what's there on your mind. You do not have to be a closed book.
Correct. Actually, recently I put one on LinkedIn about honesty and speaking up and lying, because the last 6 weeks I've been working with my adolescent group on that. It's just something that I am passionate about. It's not part of the curriculum or anything, but I feel like it's a life lesson for everybody. So we've been exploring honesty and white lies and lies, and we started off on a note where all the children told me that it's okay in certain places to lie. Like we even have a Tirukural, right? பொய்மையும் வாய்மை இடத்து புரை தீர்ந்த நன்மை பயக்கும் எனின், which means that அதாவது
அதனால நல்லது நடக்கும்னா சில போய் பேசலாம்.
I questioned it and I said, okay, now observe and come back and tell me where all you felt it was okay to lie, or where all you felt it is not okay to lie. Where was that confusion? So like 2 weeks almost we did this discussion, and then children came back and said, see, if my friend asked me in the dress nalla irka, actually I don't like it, but she's asking me, she likes it a lot, then I have to tell it's nice only, no?
That's a very cute example.
Yeah. My friend asked, nadla romba gunda therirana, or did you like the gift I gave you? So like that, you know, there were a lot of things where they were saying that I don't want to hurt her, no. So I have to tell her this, right? So then we did role play scenarios where we said that, and where some children chose to not lie and actually speak the truth, but speak the truth in a way that it need not be hurtful. And so then what happens along this line and what happens along this line? So I lied. The child continued to wear that dress and continued to wear more dresses like that. This child believed, okay, I am not fat, continue to eat unhealthy and continue to become fatter and fatter and fatter. And or we spoke the truth and then something shifted. So we did a lot of role plays along that. And then over 6 weeks now we've arrived at a point where all of them are able to speak up at home to their parents, and they're pleasantly surprised by the reactions they get from their parents and their grandparents, because they expected something, but so they expressed to me, they say, actually it wasn't bad, Amma was actually happy that I told.
Okay.
Amma didn't actually say anything, Amma actually said okay. And even when the reaction was bad, they felt lighter. One child actually said, I felt like I did a water wash to my mind. He had actually written that. So encouraging that culture of avoiding is very much in us, right?
Yeah.
Just to avoid that unpleasantness, that moment unpleasantness வந்து avoid பண்றதுக்காக go with the flow, right? So I think coming beyond our that comfort zone and expressing, speaking up at the risk of sounding rude, at the risk of whatever, for the sake of the child and for the sake of the greater good, I would say, for the sake of the truth. I think that's something that we all need to do for our children, because our children live in an age where they have 1,000 more challenges than we had. All right? It's more difficult for them. It's not easy. It's extremely difficult because they have to exercise self-control 1,000,000 times more than we had to, because we didn't have that many things to distract us.
Control ourselves. Yeah.
And therefore, we only have to be empathetic towards them, feel sorry for them, and actually help them, rather than say this generation is like this, these children, today's children are like this, today's children are like, I hate it when people say in the kalathu kolandinga, because I totally disagree with that, because it's not in the kalathu kolandinga, it's in the kalathu society and in the kalathu communities, in the kalathu adults and in the kalathu world that has changed. Children have always been the same. So we have to cater to their needs.
Yeah, நீங்க சொன்னீங்கல்ல, that biology is still the same.
Yeah.
It's just a lot of other variables have come into play.
A baby born today is the same as a baby that was born to a hunter-gatherer and has the same brain, has the same expectations, wants the same things and needs the same things to develop into a healthy child and to a healthy brain. And the things we are offering have changed so drastically.
Yes.
That we are not, it's not in their best interest.
One final question that I will ask, I think on a very selfish note also.
Sure.
So there are families and there are moms particularly who are following no screen time or a limited screen time. இந்த மாதிரி நிறைய பண்றப்போ they are looked down by other normal people saying, you know, what are you, are a saint? Are you an alien? Why are you doing too much? One day the child is going to fly the nest and become normal again. ஏன் இவ்வளோ பண்ற அப்படின்னு நிறைய feedback வரப்போ how are those mothers to take it, and what would you say to comfort them that it is still normal?
I've been there, done that, right? Because I started my journey way back in 2007 when nobody was even questioning the internet. At least today you have some studies to show. அப்படி கேட்டாங்கன்னா பாரு இது இருக்கு, சேப்பியன் ஸ்டடி பண்ணியிருக்காங்க, இது பண்ணுது அப்படின்னு. அன்னைக்கு ஒண்ணுமே இல்லை. So few months back, my husband's cousin, one guy came and told me, you know, Menaka, I used to think you were Hitler. But today I should agree after seeing Abhi and Karnan that you did the right thing.
Wonderful.
So everything takes time. We just have to patiently wait. And we cannot convince everybody, right? And people will say, this is where the world is headed. Yes, this is where the world is headed. But do I want to go in that direction or no is my choice. Just because the world is headed in that direction need not be the right direction.
Right.
Yeah? Right. The world could be headed in the wrong direction, just like climate change.
Yeah.
So do I want to put my child in that direction just because the world is headed there? Yeah. So that's something. So what do I do with this information? So yeah, when I give the talk also, that's what I say. I don't like to preach and give tips to what to do and all. I'm like, இது பண்ணா இது நடக்கும் அவ்வளோதான். ஸோ உங்களுக்கு அது ஓகேன்னா அது பண்ணுங்க. இல்லை எனக்கு இது நடக்கக்கூடாது, பெட்டராக நடக்கணும், ஆர் ஐ டோன்ட் வாண்ட் திஸ் டு ஹேப்பன் டு மை சைல்ட்னா டோன்ட் டூ இட். தட்ஸ் இட். இட்ஸ் ஆஸ் சிம்பிள் அஸ் தட். ஸோ இட்ஸ் நாட் and like you said, I've had 100 people ask me this, right? Your children are going to come back and curse you, they're going to hate you, they're going to this, they're going to that. There was in fact this aunt who also called me during COVID and told me, see what happened now? Now they had to go online, no? Oh. She literally called me. And you know what I told her? I said there couldn't have been a better reiteration of my choice because in 2 days, my children learnt everything. They needn't have wasted 14 years of their lives on that gadget to figure out something that they could do in 2 days.
2 days.
So I said, I still won. So, and plus they were able to put it away when they didn't need it because they were not addicted to it.
Right.
And the later you give it to them, the better the self-control. The later you give it to them, the better the lesser the dependency on it. And we are seeing that. And there is a study that has been done that has proved it.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Delaying the gadget introduction.
Yes.
Yes.
Mental health, there's a direct correlation to how early you gave the gadget, how early you gave the social media, and how high the mental health problems are later on in life. And the later and later and later you gave it, the graph is coming lower and lower for mental health problems. So it's like, it's out there for you to see. So either you can argue with the data and the evidence that is there today, which I didn't have when I started. I just had to tell people, just wait till they're 15 and tell me, talk to me then.
Yeah.
Because I was very sure.
Was in progress.
Yeah, it was in progress. But now mothers don't have to do that. Yeah. Mothers have everything. They can just forward some articles to them and say, read it and know it for yourself. And there are so many books you could read also, which talk about this. So
I have it as a practice that any information that I share on the internet, either for the Mindful Moms of Brooklyn, attach the research articles to it.
Great.
So that it's not like someday I woke up and I am sharing this.
Correct.
There is strong evidence and a good peer researched journal or a A-rated journal, so that the depth of the study is also validated.
Exactly.
So that you can trust, information coming from this source. Correct. So I am a direct beneficiary that you're saying.
Yeah.
That you didn't have access to that study. I am a beneficiary to that. So I am using it to share with others.
Yeah. So I think it's easier today to convince, and today the awareness is way more. And today I am seeing so happy to see parents who come and tell me, no ma'am, we have not given. I'm like, wow. I mean, because it was till a year back, it was almost 8 out of 10 children who were coming to me, they would be on gadgets, and there would be only this 1 or 2 who would not have put, and those children I can see a clear difference in their communication skills and their presence and all those things. And now it's becoming better because there are a lot more studies, there's a lot more data available about how bad it is, and it's getting better, and I'm really happy that it's getting better. But we literally lost a generation to that. You know, like we literally lost it's extremely sad because, you know, sometimes I am extremely emotional, so I literally feel very sad and depressed sometimes when I see a child who was born otherwise normal, full-term delivery, normal weight, no medical problems, nothing, parents are normal, everything is okay. Except that we had these two parents who were extremely ambitious during the first 3 years of the child's life. Both of them were doing their PhDs and the child was on a gadget, and then now you see him as a 3-year-old or 4-year-old. You just lost those golden years. That 0 to 3 is like so important. And sadly, catch up doesn't happen as much as we would like it to. We've lost those vital years. So whether in speech or social skills or any of those things, it doesn't really, it happens, but it doesn't happen at the rate that it would have happened if that period was taken care of properly. So yeah, it's and it's more so in the US. I see a lot of parents shifting back here. Have you also noticed that?
Yeah, I'm
because
seeing
of
the
that.
trend. Because
where
of the
the
children's
child is now looking like a virtual ADHD or a virtual autistic, secondary to screen time, and they're not able to handle them there. Schools are complaining a lot. They don't have the support system there. So moms are letting go of their jobs and moving back. Very sadly, damage is already done. But yeah, we can, of course, we can prevent further damage by stopping now and becoming conscious. But it's scary how much they depend there, because one parent actually told me, inga irukanga avanga brother and family is in the US. They kept telling this family that you should put your child on the tab, on the iPad, and on that one some particular show, so that they learn to speak.
Okay.
And they did it with their child, and whatever little he was speaking, he stopped, and now he's in speech delay. He's going for speech. The second one, they didn't do it. That child is fine.
Turned out fine.
But they said, my brother and sister-in-law advised me to do this. And I was like...
Advisory coming from the not right sources.
Yeah, and because we are all worried and we want the best for our children, and there's so much misinformation available, I think a simple rule to follow would be the continuum.
Yeah. No, this whole 2 hours of conversation has made me understand and believe and solidify my thought process that first world principles are still true and very relevant irrespective of all that's happening towards us. There is no compromise to the mother's love. There is no compromise to the time, to the touch. I am very, very touchy, cuddly with my children, and that also
co-sleeping and holding them, and those are the things that really
no replacement to that. So, and it brings me back to feeling that okay, there is purpose to such communities, that you bring back the core of mindfulness. And believe me, when I started this initiative is when I'm finding doctors like you who are working on these objectives that bring us back or take us back to life on its own, or life from the very beginning, that certain fundamentals don't change irrespective of what happens, and stay there and you're good. Although you appear to be not normal, you're good, and you're going to reap the benefits later. Still, prevention is better than cure. It's cheaper than cure, and a lot more.
And there's no such thing as giving a child too much love. Just like my daughter in her graduation speech said, I think I was spoilt by love. If there is something that can be said, she said. And but the founder of the school, she came and she told me she was so right about it. Because we keep thinking too much attention is bad, too much attachment is bad, too much palagirva. கை சொக
செல்லம்
பழகிரும்
கொடுக்காத.
கை சொக பழகிரும் பால் கொடுத்தா அப்புறம் வந்து விடவே மாட்டாங்க இது இட்ஸ் so wrong because we are thinking that the child is evil and the child has an agenda to be doing these things. The child is just a child who needs to be touched, who needs to be held, who needs to be fed. And as long as we attend to those basic physical instinctual needs of that baby fully, going to become a great human being later.
Yes.
Fully fed on love.
Yes.
And
They will
touch
become
and-
compassionate human beings in the future.
Nothing can go wrong.
Yes.
Nothing can go wrong with attending to the child's beck and call, especially as infants, as toddlers. And then you start, of course, you know when to, but then that first 2 years, I think that touch and that everything is so important. And today, this whole Ferberizing and putting the child in a separate room and, letting them cry till they sleep by themselves, putting baby, I cannot stand to see any of that. And I know that's not going to do any good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, I think pretty deep, but like you said, the answers, I started this conversation hoping that I will be able to give immediate tips and tricks to parents who want to be away from screens. However, it turned out to be questions that one can ask themselves and the choice of whether they want to stay here or to get somewhere. Then it's about the paradigm mind shift that you need to have to be able to choose a life that will appreciate, good for better for longer or in the future.
Later, yeah, we're looking at the now. I mean, we're not looking at what it's going to do to them later. Yeah, that's something that as parents, I think we have to really look at. Okay, இன்னைக்கு நான் இது சொன்னா 18 வயசுல என்ன ஆகும்?
Oh, this is wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thanks,
Dr.
thanks,
Menaka. I think we have to have series like this on many other topics that we can unearth.
We can
in
do.
common.
Even I enjoy talking to you because I think it was very natural. The flow of the thing was quite natural.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks. But we met through you only. So thanks to you.
Thanks to Siddharth.